Welcome, Richard Lewald, Bioenergy Wellness Care. Hope to share some amazing information here with you today. And then we're also going to do some live demonstrations. And we have with us Jay Addison, who is, I just met the other day. Amazing man, has been involved in some amazing projects and researches. So Jay, introduce yourself.
Well, I mean, my background is in technology more than anything, but also health and wellness. And I was in a car accident probably 22, 23 years ago that put me into chronic pain. And then I think probably from the painkillers and everything, I ended up with tumors, which we discovered probably 6 or 7 years ago through a CT scan when I went to China. And so I've been on a journey, of course, to learn how to try and fix some of these problems that I had in the body. So it's been an incredible journey, and learned so many things along the way, and then meeting great people like you that are synergistic and learning from them. So it's just been fantastic. And then, of course, we're also into cryptocurrency. I'm a broadcaster on Reuters Insider Financial Network. So we've been doing blockchain stuff since about 2013 and trying to educate the world on that as well. So it's a whole sort of variety of new innovative things, right?
Well, there's certainly a revolution happening in the health and wellness, and of course there are sources that do not like this change because it's always about the money.
Yeah.
But then again, it's all tight. The whole money system, the fiat money system, is also going through
a change. Yeah.
Because they've been trying to band-aid it and keep it together, by their QE programs and so on. And they're having a tough time. So a lot of the banks and central banks are having some major issues. We get disconnects in the financial businesses where we know that the global currency that controls everything is the US dollar, petrodollar. That's where it all began, 1970s. And it's starting to lose ground. People are starting to unhook themselves from that system and go outside. So we're going to see some major shifts, I believe, in both ends of it. So as finance and all that, and we can describe it all in currency, the way it flows.
Yeah.
So it's energy, and there's different formats. In the past, people have attached themselves from even taking sticks and making notches in it.
Yes, exactly.
That was a way of exchange. Shells, feathers, doesn't matter. Anything that can be equated and that's accepted and in a way of making an exchange. So once again, we're in a very revolution there. And then within, again, the health field, which is really what I've been pursuing for the last 47 years and just love and enjoy. And our purposes here is we're going to share this information, help to educate the common man. So all people have to do is to be open. Right?
That's right.
Don't reject things. You know what you know. But there's so much more that you don't know. So just because you don't know doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And we know this from simply exploring things through microscopes, through telescopes, so many different things. And that's what I find from an energetic perspective, the way I approach things. Because everything being energy, and energy cannot be destroyed, but energy is changed. So that is powerful. Just think of it. You take a piece of wood. It's stored energy. You burn it. You get heat, light, sound, smoke, just changes in different forms. So again, energy is not destroyed, energy is changed. So from some of the other videos, our thinking, our sound, our voice, it's energy we can measure. And then in the way we use words, intentions, and so on, very, very powerful, right? Because once we are getting away from just having things locked into our head, our brain, our computer, essentially. This is an amazing computer, but that's what it is, right? So there is also the heart brain, because that was the brain that gave the instructions prior to this brain being formed to every cell in the body to form what they had to do. But as we go along, we got a disconnect happening, because this takes over from the information that's pumped in here. And it begins as soon as we're born. Welcome! We're ready to be programmed, right?
Yes, yeah.
So the programs we run here are very important. So my only suggestion to anybody, because some of the things that we do are so profound and different from what you've learned in school. and it's beyond the five senses. And they say that when you start opening up intuition, oh my goodness, there's maybe another 105 senses that we can be connected to. So the way we then start to filter things, feel it and so on, it's just different. Again, it's just like the universe is big. And so we're part of the universe, we're part of this nature, we're part of everything. And we're part of everything being just one.
Yes, yeah.
So, is just get connected with what all that is. So hopefully in sharing this information, this can help to literally change the way we can live. And the world is ready and needs it now, right?
Yes, that's for sure. I mean, there's so much knowledge out there. It really kind of boils down to knowledge.
Yes.
And it's really good to seek knowledge. And the good thing about the internet is that there are videos on everything out there. And, even people like yourself and I who have been, are knowledge seekers and have been searching for a long time and learning new things, there's so much more to learn every day.
Yes.
Like I've just recently been watching David Sinclair's videos, who's a Harvard professor that his studies are based on longevity. And so, they've now determined that NMN they've been giving this to mice, and they can see the mice going 25% further than they were before on a running test and everything else. So there's so many things out there. It's incredible, and by learning, you learn little bits at a time from all the videos that you watch. But there is so much information out there that it's a world to explore. And as you're saying, part of the problem is that from the past we would learn everything from our parents, but they had limited knowledge as well.
Right.
So luckily, with this new sort of evolution of knowledge and technology, we actually have access to everything.
Absolutely.
And so it's just a matter of having the interest to go out there and to start looking at these. And it's kind of, I guess one of the good things about YouTube is when you start watching a video on a particular subject, then it comes up beside it and says, now we recommend this, and it can lead you down this rabbit hole. But it's a great rabbit hole because it's so exciting, and there's so much exciting information. And it's helped me a lot on my journey in dealing with pain and having some tumors that I needed to try and help myself with as well. And so it's really been exciting, and I think it's a huge opportunity for everyone to learn. Right, we're in a whole new evolution here of being able to learn at home.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just like we talk about when we were into the health stuff about nutrition, right? So we need the physical components, and because that again translates to energy, anyways, to the cells. Okay. But I'm thinking that we need the nutrition for the mind.
Yeah, that's right.
The healthy stuff, the real thing, right? And we live very much in a plastic and, material plastic. It's made, and it takes away from, there's so much more.
Yeah.
Right? Like for me, it's like you say, every day I wake up and I just say to myself, I'm just a student. And maybe to some people, they say, wow, where did you learn all this stuff? Which universities? I said, the universe is my university. Do you have any degrees? Yeah, 360
yeah,
is all around
exactly.
me.
Yeah.
So we can learn from all around, animals, plants, observe nature,
Absolutely.
walking through
Absolutely.
the forest, look at the skies, look at the stars, right? There's just so much there that we can take, and it's awesome.
It
right?
really is, yeah. One of my first things was learning about water. I was a voiceover guy for television radio commercials for many, many years. So back probably in the early 90s, I was doing voiceovers for a film company, and then they ended up sort of going bankrupt. So I bought the film company, and I ended up doing a video for a guy who actually had the Asian rights for Johann Granger's living water device.
Oh, yes.
And so when I first was going to shoot the video for this fella, I was thinking, at that time I was thinking, okay, well, let's get started in shooting the video, right? And he's saying, no. You need to understand this before you start shooting, and water is very complex. And I'm thinking, at the time, water's complex. How can you even suggest that? But he made me spend 3 months learning before he even let me start shooting the video. And so learning that water has a memory and learning that water is so much more than what we see it to be. And that sent me on quite a journey too, because from there, and I happen to have one of the Johann Granger products in my pocket that I use all the time for stirring water to structure the water. So then you get into structured water, which is what that was doing. And there's a guy named Clayton Nolte that has some great videos on YouTube as well that you can learn from. And there's actually quite a few. In fact, it actually goes back to Victor Schauberger, who studied, water in the rivers and everything. And then more recently, I bought a John Ellis water device. So this is a water distiller, but what it does is it actually heats and cools the water, I think 100 times per gallon. So it goes back and forth between hot and cold, and then when it's in the hot area, it spins it. So it has the vortex, which goes back to Victor Schauberger and the rest of these structuring water devices. And then it moves everything up to the top where it has 2 UV lights, which then are able to, nullify bacteria and pathogens and that type of stuff. So it's been an incredible journey because John Ellis water has been, and I think we're going to show on a video after this some of the energetic properties of it. And
we're going to measure them with my wands.
We're going to measure them with your wands, right? And so, which we did a couple days ago, and we had some incredible results. So, so this whole thing about water is, I mean, it's amazing. It
just reminds me, so that video, I don't know if it still exists on YouTube, Water, the Great Mystery or something.
Yes, The Great Mystery with Emoto and just the...
Everything in there.
I mean, just saying thank you, I love you to your water. Like on my water bottle, I've got written, thank you, I love you. And I even like, when I'm having a shower, I'll be saying thank you, I love you to the water. And when I'm lying in bed, because we're 70 to 80% water, I always say thank you, I love you to all the water cells in my body. Which is really important because if you watch those videos from Emoto and you'll see what happens to that water molecule when he expresses emotions to it, positive or negative, because you can see when he does negative emotions, it looks like broken glass. And when he does positive emotions or plays something like Mozart, it'll look like a beautiful snowflake.
Yes.
And so it's really incredible stuff, right?
Yeah, and then like Schauberger.
Yeah.
Amazing man.
Yeah.
He was a forest warden, 3 generations of forest wardens. When I've come across Victor Schauberger, and to me, I recommend people do the research. See what this man was all about. He was so connected with nature.
Sure was.
And he was a genius who took the implosion engine and the vortex energies. And, then what I understood, he was even forced to work for Hitler.
Oh.
To develop flying saucers.
Yes.
Right? And then when the Allies basically came into Europe, I think he was in Austria, and they captured him basically. I mean, he was just a scientist forced to work for Hitler on his advanced flying saucer programs. And they took him to Texas. And they kept him there for about a year or something like that. And they totally took all his knowledge away from them. And that destroyed the man. He ended up going back they sent him back to Austria, and then about 30 days later he died because I guess they crushed him basically by stripping him. And of course, he was one that wanted to educate again, share with the world how to live right in this whole cycle of life within nature, because we're all nature and we don't work with nature, which works with us. It's trying to help us, and we destroy it, right? It's just like people they do things to destroy their own health. Guess what? Your health is your wealth. Yes, we need the money, and we see the changes, and that's the kind of wealth we also need to kind of refine, that we can have this for ourselves, and we need to get rid of it, of those that are the controlling masters, essentially, right?
Yeah.
And we've given them the control. Because, I mean, let's face it, money on deposit with the banks is not your money. When you go with your health and you say to the system, here, take care of me, they are so limited. You are powerful once you get yourself properly educated as to how you need to. And many of the answers lie in the foundations. I always tell, fix the foundations. And we're looking at, little things here and there to introduce, but get the foundation straight.
Yeah.
Boom. You support the body in such a big way. And so we get on this topic of water. We are 70 to 80% water. Even like the earth is around 70% water.
Yeah.
We have so much. So just that relationship. We're here in this earth. We're like the earth. And it reflects everything back into us, right? If we're willing to look at these concepts. And it's true once you start realizing it. But anyways, So yeah, water. Me too. Water. I was looking
know,
at water a
water's
long
great.
time ago. Water filters, water ionizers, many different types of water
Yes.
devices.
Yeah.
Okay, to help clean, purify, structure water, and with the grandeur water. Some of these people brought some great things in there. But I think that what we're going to be focusing on here today, John Ellis water, is going to be so amazing. When I was introduced
exciting.
to that about, I guess 2 weeks ago through Sydney.
Yeah.
And then he brought you here the other day, and we
Yeah.
just, oh my goodness, this is.
I know.
We have to get this out, because I think you happened to mention that day too that the Sloan Kettering Institute in the U.S. uses these machines, and that the one oncologist that happened to retire from there said, look, this water is so powerful in how it can help people overcome cancer.
Yeah.
Am I correct to say that?
Yeah, and I think if you go to johnellis.com, which is his website, and you start reading some of the information on there, even some of his videos. He doesn't have very many videos on YouTube, but there's probably 4 or 5 videos, and some really great information. One of them is a sewage treatment plant, a large sewage treatment plant that had become overgrown with E. coli and bacteria and everything. That the smell was so bad that they were being fined by the federal government on a regular basis because all the neighbors and everybody was complaining. And they were trying to find a way to fix this, and of course they tried everything. And then, according to John Ellis's website, or John Ellis, they ended up putting 10,000 gallons of John Ellis water in here, which has that hydrogen bonding angle of 114 degrees, which by putting that water into other water converts the other water. And it's a little complex for me to even understand sometimes, but John Ellis has a double engineering degree, so he understands it clearly. That's how he's able to make it. But it then converts that water in the sewage treatment plant, and within 24 hours there was no more smell and it was all crystal clear. And so the water's amazing. And John Ellis is an amazing human. So I just bought my machine 4 months ago or something like that. And of course I've been sharing it. I shared it with Sydney and other people, and it's been really exciting just to see the feedback and hear the feedback from people that I've been sharing it with.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and we will certainly look at ways and means if people want to access this water, what we can do, how we can help them. So hey, test it for yourself and just see what it will do. And sometimes these things are very subtle. So here's the thing, for a lot of people, what do you mean water?
Yeah,
What is
yeah.
water? All water looks the same. No, yes, it's H2O. But you mentioned this point about the angle of
The hydrogen bonding angle.
hydrogen
Yeah,
bonding
yeah.
angle, right? So tell us a little bit about the different waters and why in that hydrogen bonding angle it makes such a profound difference.
Right. Well, I mean, from what I've learned, and this has been an evolution of time, because back in the beginning when I was just learning about structured water, and there are a lot of videos on YouTube on structuring water, and you can actually structure water with 432 hertz or
Right.
528, or even by stirring water with a spoon or something else. And I didn't realize up until actually watching one of Clayton Nolte's videos recently that that's actually what's changing the hydrogen bonding angle. And by changing that hydrogen bonding angle, if you believe what they're all saying, water has a memory. By changing that hydrogen bonding angle, it is erasing all of the bad memory, which is everything from pollutants and everything else, and taking it back to the source, which would be something similar to water coming out of a glacier that hasn't been polluted and hasn't been. I guess one of the issues is that as water comes down the mountains, it picks up information from the rocks and everything else, and in streams, it's actually going through that heating and cooling process, and it's spinning it as well if you watch a stream.
That's right.
And all of this is treating it, but then us humans take that water and put it into a big dam where it's just sitting there stagnantly, and then pumping it through pipes where it's being compressed and being forced to go through 90-degree angles, which it's not used to. And this is sort of making the water dead.
Right.
And so this hydrogen bonding angle, and by changing that, it's actually bringing the life back in. And if you go to John Ellis's website, I can't remember exactly what the number is, but the water that's created from his machines actually has an energetic level that's far beyond any other water.
And we'll be able to show that in the demo.
Yes,
later
that's
on.
exactly
And
right,
It's just
yeah.
so amazing,
Yeah.
the energy there.
Yeah. So it's really incredible, and I think, I encourage anybody. I mean, we were really living on water because we're almost all water. So water is probably one of the most important things that we can understand and embrace. You know, and with the John Ellis water, also what it does is water itself actually sticks together in clusters. So the molecules stick together in clusters. And if you took the water out of your tap, you might have 35 molecules per cluster, something like that is what I've read. And what happens when you drink that, if you drank a giant glass of water and then you jumped up and down, you'd actually hear the water splashing around because it's not absorbing into the cells.
Right.
So once you start structuring that water, it's breaking that down to maybe 5 molecules per cluster, which now can be, you know, penetrate the cells and actually hydrate your body. So, you know, people are actually drinking regular water. It's really not absorbing as much as it could, and then they're getting dehydrated. And if you look at a lot of people, there's a guy named Dr. Batman Gali, and he talks about, you know, you're not sick, you're dehydrated.
Right.
And so if you watch his videos on YouTube, you'll see that he's talking about the fact that, you know, people might be drinking water, but they're not getting hydrated. And really, as we get older, you know, I mean, if you put an apple on the table and you let it sit there, eventually it's going to get wrinkled up, and just like us humans do, right? And so it's the same thing. I mean, it's losing its hydration.
Right.
And so as we keep hydrating ourselves, and especially with this proper energetically charged water that's structured, that has that hydrogen bonding angle changed, this is what's really going to hydrate our bodies and hopefully prolong our life.
Absolutely. And hydrogen, what do we know? I mean, they're producing hydrogen for a fuel.
Yes.
Right? So
yes.
this energizes the cells again and puts this life force back into the cells.
Yes, it does. And one of the things that the John Ellis website talks about is in changing this hydrogen bonding angle, one of the things it does is when we drink water, our body needs to split that into hydrogen and oxygen. But it takes a whole bunch of energy to do that. And so if you're actually drinking the John Ellis water, it takes way less energy because of that hydrogen bonding angle, so that as you drink that water, it's very easy for your body to now split that into the hydrogen and oxygen that we need. So there's a big advantages. I mean, I really encourage everybody to go to their website and try and learn more about it.
Absolutely. No, it's a fascinating subject.
Sure is.
I say, I've always been all my life into water, you know. Some people say, yeah, but you need pure water. Well, you know, that's so many concepts, and so people do reverse osmosis water or distilled water. I mean, probably one of your purest waters you can get is possibly distilled water, I would think.
Well, distilled water apparently isn't actually the best water for you.
No. Right.
Except for if you look at John Ellis's distilled water, because it's actually done differently, right? It moves between hot and cold, and that is what changing the hydrogen bonding angle, because regular water, according to John Ellis, has a hydrogen bonding angle of 104 degrees, which is coming out of your tap.
Okay.
Distilled water is 101 degrees, so it's actually worse than regular water. Now, it might be cleaner to a certain degree because it's burning off some of those bad things in it, but apparently it's also concentrating some of the bad things. And I was using distilled water for years and years until I actually learned about John Ellis, and then started studying his water and realizing that, you know, I thought I was going down the right path, I was going down the wrong path, which can happen too, right? Because, you know, John Ellis water and John Ellis's machines have been around since the 80s. And,
wow.
but because he's an engineer, they're not really marketing people.
Yes, yes.
And I think the word spread because there's a guy named Gavin Meal that we follow on YouTube, who's kind of a fitness guy, and he's in really great shape and a really great guy. And he actually is the guy that produced this video where I learned about John Ellis water. And he was referring to a story that was in the Washington Post where he was saying 10,000 people a day go to this ranch in Lakota, Mexico to get this water. And what happened was they were having problems with their well, and they went and got John Ellis water, which you can then dump into your well, and it'll convert that water in your well to the 114 degrees bonding angle. But there was a dog on the ranch that was kind of hobbling around on 3 legs and was kind of looked like he was in his last days. And of course, he was drinking the well water. And then after they changed it to John Ellis well water, the dog's back on 4 legs and looking great. And I guess all of the people that were in Mexico that were working on the ranch saw this dog and saw the change, and the word spread, and this is where he ended up with 10,000 people a day coming to his ranch to get this water. And so it looks from the videos, it looks like he's added a bunch of other sort of nodes or whatever so that more people can get the water. So Gavin Meal is actually going to a place in, I think, San Diego, where he's paying $50 American a gallon, and then he takes an ounce of that and puts it into a gallon of regular water, which it then converts that whole gallon to the 114 degrees bonding angle and changes the energetic properties of that water as well. So it's pretty interesting stuff, that's for sure.
So the advantage if you get the concentrated water, you can, we sort of quantified that here last time.
Yes.
45 to 1. So
Yes, exactly, that's right. When we
one
did some
ounce
tests. Yeah.
of John Ellis water, 45 ounces of regular, even tap water.
Right. And it might even be more, because in the case
might
of, if you look at that sewage treatment plant, they'd put 10,000 gallons in, and I think
Yes.
the sewage treatment plant was 5 acres or something like that.
Wow.
So it actually, within 24 hours, treated that whole treatment plant. So yeah, it's
So
incredible.
just think of aquariums, whatever, ponds.
Sure,
that people
ponds. I
have,
mean, even
fish
some of
ponds,
these
whatever,
these sort of lakes that are overgrown with sewage and everything. And apparently, by changing that hydrogen bonding angle, it's erasing a lot of the, the impurities in the water. And again, if you go back to John Ellis and watch some of his videos, he talks about in one of the cities down in the United States, they took the water, they measured it. There was 51 different chemicals. Because a lot of the things like women that are taking birth control pills,
Right.
and then of course you're peeing that out, and
Antibiotics and
everybody else
everything
taking all
else,
these
yes.
antibiotics and everything, you're peeing them out, and that's going back into the water system.
Yes.
And a lot of times not being able to get diluted enough, it's still in that water. So by changing the hydrogen bonding angle, they're able to purify that water.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, just thinking, because of the effects of all the pharmaceuticals going into the waterways, find themselves, the fish, the ducks, they're kind of, whatever, they become sterile, and this might be a great way to adapt this technology and share that a lot more.
Absolutely.
With things.
Yeah.
Okay, well, looking forward to our next segment on this subject. And
Right, which is
going
testing
out
it and showing,
testing it.
yeah, that's exciting.
So come and see, subscribe to our channels, share the information with your friends. This is important if you want to live better, right? This is information that becomes critical. You are water. We're all water, okay? So it's a foundation. So stick to the foundations and things will go better for you. So watch our demo video on this water, okay? Thank you. Jay, thank you very much.
Thank you.